and welcome to the Rainbow Umbrella, the podcast where we talk about anything and everything under the rainbow. For this month's spooky episode, we did something a little bit different. So Jen, friend of the pod and multi-time guest, and I did a ghost tour, which was amazing. So this episode is going to be broken up into two parts. First, I'm going to have a wee kōrero with Jen, and then I'll be interviewing Andrew, the man behind the ghost tours. But first, welcome Jen, and welcome to the studio for the first time. How cool was this?
Thank you. It's very fun.
Feel like a grown-up?
I feel so grown up. This is it. This is adult life.
Yeah. Anything after this is gravy, right?
Yeah.
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 Speaking of adult life, how did it feel to be a grown woman doing a ghost tour? What did you think when I first asked you if you wanted to join me?
I was intrigued and skeptical.
Yes.
But, you know, I was up for the trip.
Yeah.
And it was an adventure.
Boy, howdy was it.
It was.
Yeah. So, Jen, we're about to go into the ghost tour. How are you feeling about it?
Skeptical.
Skeptical? Okay.
And I'm so glad I remembered that word.
Yeah?
Me and a friend are trying to watch as many scary movies as we can to find one that actually scares us. I've yet to find one.
You have yet to find one. Okay.
So I'm very skeptical about a ghost tour.
Well, I'm excited to see what happens for both of us.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time.
My mind is open.
We're all good, let's go.
Yes, let us go. So did you have any kind of expectations before we went in?
I think I had very low expectations based on my very limited knowledge of Dunedin and its history, but also New Zealand and its history.
Okay.
I'm also quite cynical about ghosts, but that's because I've never experienced anything about ghosts. But I do know, you know, I work in a museum, so I know stories. I know people who have talked and seen and interacted with ghosts.
Right.
But part of me is just like, but did you?
But did you though?
Did you though?
But ghost agnostic then?
Yeah, I will believe when I see.
Yeah.
Look, there could be thousands of ghosts where we're standing tonight.
So overall, how did you find the experience?
Am I allowed to swear?
Yes, you are.
I fucking loved it. I fucking loved it. I thought it was great. Not because of ghosts, but Andrew is fascinating, very knowledgeable, very cute. Love him. I love you, Andrew. But also, it really opened my eyes to some of the really interesting history that is in Dunedin that I was not aware of.
Yeah.
Because I've just not engaged with it.
Yeah.
But no, I really loved it.
Some of the things that he showed us, I was like, what do you mean this is happening here or happened here or this used to be this? Like it was...
It's fascinating. It's so like, because you walk around the city and you don't really think about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then you walk around it with him and he's talking about all these like the historical places that used to be there and what happened. And you're just like, huh.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah. Yeah. Without too many spoilers, do you have a favourite part?
I really liked the first church, the Silky. The Silky.
Yeah.
Again, that probably goes back to my love of mythology, particularly ocean-based mythology.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I like the story. And I also really love how it came about and the propaganda around it. It's very fascinating.
Did you know that was all reclaimed land?
No.
That the water used to come all the way up there? Crazy, eh?
No, I had no idea, but I love it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my favourite part was just probably the banter, the Jen and Andrew banter.
Jen and Andrew banter. I mean, that was a good time. It's not often you can find someone who you immediately can click with.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
I recognized that I was the sacrificial lamb very quickly. All right, is this where I jump?
This is the jumping point.
Yeah, how many times did you die that night? At least 3?
At least 3. At least 3.
Yeah.
But
Worth
yeah.
it?
It was so worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you do another one with me?
I would 100% do another one.
Yeah.
And I still haven't done it, but I'm thinking I'll buy his book.
Yes.
Because I'm very interested about the stories. Because even when I went home that night and I Googled the stories, and there's just not that much. Whereas he talked about all the different people who were associated with the different stories at certain times, or their family was, or whatnot. So I assume that in his book he probably has those perspectives kind of integrated in. So he's got a knowledge that is not really public.
Yeah.
But
And it was also cool just to learn so much about where you're currently living. Like for me, Dunedin has always been my home. So it was like, holy shit, this is wild that this, that it used to be like this and these things happen here. And
yeah, and when you think about history, again, it's always, Dunedin was a place for the gold mines, and the Scottish came here and made it a new Edinburgh, and you're just like, that's kind of general New Zealand history.
Yeah.
But those stories, you're just like, what? Excuse me, what?
yeah.
That happened? That is so cool.
Yeah. I think the thing that blew my mind the most was the hospital. So the first...
Yes.
And I was like, what?
Yes.
When was that there? That was...
Yeah.
And how many times I walked through that alley, I was like, what the hell? Yeah. No, it was very good.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. So you're still a skeptic?
I am still a skeptic.
Yeah.
There was definitely no sightings of ghosts, nor did it open me up to any other things since then.
Okay.
But I'm still young.
Yeah.
There's still time.
We'll just
and
have to
there's
try.
many tours to trial.
Just going to say, we'll just have to try harder.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned. We might do another one.
Yeah, let's do another one.
Okay. And now I am joined by Andrew, the man behind Hair Razor Tours here in Ōtepoti, Dunedin. Welcome, Andrew. It's awesome to have you here.
Thank you.
And thank you again for the awesome tour a couple of weeks ago. It was so much fun. Spooky. That's awesome.
My pleasure. I really enjoyed that night.
Yeah?
It was truly frightening.
Was that Jen's fault?
Yes, it was.
She's not that scary.
Well, it's debatable, I guess. But we do rely on group participation, so it was good to have her as our sacrifice that evening. That with all of my tours, I do require a human sacrifice. So thank you, Jen, for volunteering.
I think it was about 3 times she died.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Is that a record for a tour?
Well, she was so keen. So I always like to encourage that.
Yeah.
So, a ghost that keeps giving is a ghost for us, yeah.
Absolutely, particularly in your line of work.
Indeed.
So what I'm interested in is what started you down this path? Why ghosts?
I just love the history. I love the stories associated with a lot of the, historical locations we visit. But I guess when I was growing up, I just enjoyed the superstitious folk stories that, obviously my family from different corners of the globe brought with them. And I wanted to share those. And obviously over the years, the tours have grown and the stories have grown. Others have added to them. So it wasn't initially a conscious decision to focus on the ghost. As I mentioned, I like the history, but the ghost story was always there. And I was just really interested to see what people believed in and why.
Can you travel if you're a ghost?
I mean, you can if you attach to an object and the object travels.
Yeah. And I mean, you can't really have any sort of kōrero about history without ghosts coming up, right?
Exactly, and every culture has their own interpretation, their own stories, their own beliefs. And again, that was kind of important for me to bring that to the table. And again, over the years, that's grown. People, I would say, are more willing now to share, and they want that to be a part of the fabric. So, once upon a time, storytelling may have been perceived as not true. He's making up a story. Now it's a way of, as it should be, sharing somebody's culture, background, which I think is cool.
And it's just fun.
And it's fun.
Educational, interesting and fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's what you take of it. You don't have to walk away believing that side of it, the ghost side of it. But again, I think people have bought ghost stories as a way of sharing. It's always been part of pop culture, I think. So, I find it always interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, it was, as much as I'm like, yes, ghosts, it was the history that really got me. Like, there was so much about the city I've lived in my whole life that I learned that night. It was awesome. Yeah,
and that's, again, what I grew up with lots of those, particularly about the people. And then, again, growing up in Dunedin, I just loved the buildings, particularly at night. Because you don't notice them the same during the day. When you're walking past them, maybe you're busy, it's noisy. You just don't have the time to kind of look up and look down the alleyway or look at the lighting or the windowsill or, So I've always been a train spotter when it comes to fire escapes and alleyways and corners that, wonder what's down there. The only thing now is probably more security lights that pop on, but they can give you a fright as well.
Ruining the ambience, though.
Possibly, sometimes. Sometimes. You never know who you might bump into.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've definitely noticed that walking around the city since then, particularly at night.
Yeah.
I'm always like, this is new. Have I seen this before?
Yeah.
What's down here? What's down here?
Yeah.
And this is where Dunedin's past gets very dark and not too good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, I'm only doing what I enjoy doing myself.
Yeah.
It's just that people tag along, So it's just the world as I see it, I guess,
Yeah.
or Dunedin as I see it. And what gives me a thrill and
Yeah.
a kick is that's why I enjoy it. You're showing people a side of the city that you enjoy,
And I guess that makes it not really feel like work, right?
No, never for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, it's like any job. When you find out that you've got somebody attending the tour, like Jen, it can be a real drain, and you think, how am I going to get through this? And the time really drags out. But you get there,
You persevere.
You hang out with her a lot more than I do, so you probably... Anyway.
She's fun
we won't make it.
We won't make it the Jen. I mean, we could make it the Jen show.
We won't make it. All about her.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
My understanding is that you've been doing this about 25 years, yeah?
25,
Yeah?
yes.
So how much knowledge and history of Ōtepoti did you have before you started, and what have you learned since doing these tours?
Well, I think I had quite a bit sort of growing up. That's the great thing about the storytelling. If you're actually told stories about, in my case, early Dunedin, it's amazing what you take in the story, and particularly if it starts when you're young. So for me, when I got older, I mean, my grandmother was a big influence. She shared a lot of stories about her parents and grandparents coming to Dunedin in the very early days. So they were of Irish descent. So they had the pixies and the fairies and the ghost stories, but also the people that shaped the city. And when I got older, I looked into that a little bit more, and obviously developed the tours around that. And that was in the days of no Google. Can you imagine it?
What a time.
What a time. No phones, no Google. And so you had to go and sit and, read books and talk to other people as well.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Looking back, I think that was really great.
Yeah.
Because you could talk to the old timers and find out what things were like for them or their grandparents. And again, you never stop learning, and you never stop accumulating information about anywhere really, and particularly the stories I talk about. You'll get people join the tour and their family may have owned the building, or there may be an extra little quirk about a story that you've shared. So I guess that's what makes it interesting for me. It's never a story that's, just starts and finishes. There's so many layers to it. I've just got to remember every time I do, if I've had a little update, I've just got to remember to drop it in, or,
Yeah.
So, Yeah.
So without any spoilers, what's your
yes.
favourite Dunedin fact?
Oh, my favourite Dunedin fact. Oh gosh, you've got me on the
The no spoilers?
You've got me on the no spoiler. Well, you put me on the spot, really. My favourite Dunedin fact. I think I really love the fact that Dunedin had New Zealand's first world champion.
World champion
World
what?
champion what?
Yeah?
Is that a spoiler to go, or do I leave it to people to
Oh, it's up to you.
googly?
They can Google, or
I reckon
do you
they should
talk about it
Google
on
it.
a tour?
I talk about it on the tours. So
Maybe
how
they
about
could
I
just
give
do
you
a
half?
tour.
Maybe you should.
Just do a tour.
I wasn't trying to do a plug promo thing, but we've just got so many there's so many interesting characters that, and again, it's kind of what inspires me or pushes me forward. Like I like to keep their memories alive,
Yeah.
you know, and there's too many facts to list. Put it that way. That's a bit of a cop out, isn't it? He can't think of anything.
You know, spoiled for choices.
Yeah, we
what I'm getting.
do have so much. We do have so much. I mean, a lot of stories really spark on after the gold rush. So you can pick any dates in the 1860s. That would have been a good time to be alive in Dunedin.
So there you go, people. Do some research.
There we
Dunedin's
go.
fun. And do a tour.
Do a tour, yeah.
Like I said before, that's what was one of my favourite parts of the tour. It's like learning new things about Dunedin, and particularly places that I pass regularly, and I'm so familiar with this place.
Yeah.
The hospital site, I've walked down there so many times. I'm like, I had no idea that this was here
Yeah.
right off the bat, and it just got better from there. Like it was so interesting.
Oh, that's cool. Again, it's that everyday stuff that you walk by that you don't really notice until you do, you know. And I guess that, I mean, I like that sort of thing in art, you know.
Yeah.
In particular, you know, look at it. I love the, I was just, I'm going on a complete tangent here.
No,
but
I'm here for it.
I've always had an interest with outsider art. And so I do like that everyday, what some might regard as boring, the empty window, the lonely, desolate scene.
Yeah.
That people think, but there's a meaning behind it. So I quite like that. So that's my outsider art,
Yeah.
really.
No, I like that. Getting the backstory or, you know, something interesting from what would on face value seem mundane. It's like, this is just an alley. This is a way for me to get from A to B.
Yep.
So actually, there is so much just in this one space.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And I really, you know, the tours are 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But it could be double.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because of that. You know, and that's the knowledge that I've gained over the years as well. You know, from a particular location, maybe I had one story or one account from the area, and over the years there's been multiple added through other people's experiences or snippets of history that they've been able to share with me. It hasn't just been, you know, a spooky ghost story. It might be, you know, something to do with the building or the architecture.
That's probably one of the things that you get quite a lot, because obviously you'll have so many different people coming through the tour, and you know, the nature of humans is if they can associate something with somewhere, they say, I want to tell this person about this thing.
Exactly.
So I imagine you collect so many stories that way.
Yeah, and that's been, again, a very cool part of it. It's interesting, again, with technology. You know, we're doing this podcast now. A number of people have come to see me over the years, and I wonder whether they would have sat down and been recorded. I suspect not, you know. They might just come to you and give you the little whisper and tell you a little story, and that would be it. And then it's up to me to remember it, right? So that's been an interesting part. But yeah, people get a kick out of coming on the tour, and sometimes they might mention it during the tour. Quite often afterwards, you know, they'll mention that they owned the building, or that they knew the person that I'd been talking about. Just been talking about Dunedin, how small it is.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about my great uncle on that story.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure that you've got it right. My plan has always been to you keep that memory alive, particularly on our cemetery tours.
Yes.
You know, I'm going there to, you know, keep their story alive, keep their memory alive. Yes, there are stories that are horrible, but maybe I'm talking in that regard to how crime was viewed or punishment in that particular time. So, yeah.
So what does it feel like when you have someone on the tour that, you know, has a connection to the area that you might be talking about or a person that you might be talking about? Is it super exciting? Because I imagine if it was me, I'd be like, yes, I want to talk to you more about this because you have a connection.
Yeah, definitely. Initially you think, where's this going to go?
Yeah.
You know, and you think, am I going to have to dig a hole and jump in? Because you know, you might not have got it correct according to the family or to the person. It might be on the record as such and such, but it might not be the case. No, and I have had that happen. So if somebody shares their story, it's usually they want to put the record straight according to them. And again, over the years, you put the picture together, you know, and you share different sides of the story. And if it is a mysterious story, that adds to it, because then you go, wow, look at that. There's more sides to this than meets the eye. And then I can leave it up to you to make up your own mind.
That's cool. Not only is it you're doing a job that you clearly love, but you're learning things about people and places and, you know, the city you live in as well. So that's just awesome.
Yeah.
So do you have a favourite tour that you do?
I'm always, I mean, I get asked this all the time. What's your favourite? What do you recommend? It is genuinely a tough question. I mean, the Hereza Ghost Walk was my original alongside the Northern Cemetery. And I'd have to say the Northern Cemetery I love. There's something about it for me. It's quite nostalgic. I grew up at that end of town, mainly. From the age of 10, I spent a lot of time in the cemetery. I went to school. There's a school for extremely gifted children at the end of the pathway that runs through the cemetery.
I mean, it makes sense that that's where you went.
Correct. So I was there every day. And then, you know, student days, that was a place to hang out in the Larnac tomb. A couple of drinks before we wandered down to the Guardies Tavern. Truly scary times. And great characters in there, you know. And I guess they were the rock star of the time. That was quite the place to be seen in the afterlife. So, yeah, I do like the Northern. I do also like the crime tour that I do, which has kind of morphed in recent times because we have our own cell down at the jail. So that's a relatively new addition to that tour. So that's kind of creepy, super creepy.
That's cool.
So I'm getting used to that.
Was it initially quite weird working in that space?
It's very weird. There's some places you go to, you find, wow, you know, I've got the skeleton key to this place and I'm going in here by myself, and it's quite the vibe. And you just think of all of the things that have gone on. And it is, I know I'm not supposed to admit this, but I'm quite frightened myself.
This is a safe space. You're all right
Oh, thank you.
to speak your truth.
It's good. I'm pleased.
I imagine it would be
Pleased.
quite creepy, though. I mean, in a way, creepy is your business, but also, like you said, being in a place like that on your own, if you think too much about everything that has or could potentially have happened in that space.
Oh, for sure.
I can imagine it's not overly comfortable.
No, and probably neither should it, because I mean, some horrendous things have happened in these places, and so again, you want to be respectful about the space and about what has gone on in the past. But it does take a bit of time to get used to some of those locations.
For sure. So, what's the best thing about giving the tours?
Oh, I always enjoy the people that come along. Everybody's different, and I think it is the locals that come, and maybe like yourself, that don't notice certain places that they pass every day. I've always got a kick out of the fact that, I didn't know that was there. And again, you'll have somebody stand there with their phone and they'll fact check you. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Because I make, after all these years, you're pretty confident of the date.
Yeah.
So if somebody Googled, fact checks you mid-tour and then they give you the little nod, you got that right. I quite enjoy that. But it's the power of suggestion. Again, I mean, what I'm frightened about, you might not be. So I'm painting the picture, and I enjoy seeing people buy into that. And again, because it's at night, your senses are heightened. You're looking more closely. Mm-hmm. You're listening. Your nose is up. Your ears are pricked, and you're ready for it. And the rest is in your mind.
And I can absolutely attest to that. I was fine until we started going downstairs. And I was like, I mean, I love it, but I hate it. But fuck off. I love it, but I hate it. I love it, but I hate it.
And you want it to be, am I allowed to use the word climax?
Yes. Yes, you are.
Right. You want to build up to that.
Yes.
And you want it to be that suspense, Alfred Hitchcocky thing, where it's the anticipation of the bang, not the bang itself.
Not the bang itself, absolutely.
And so, that's a thrill for me. I was never into scary stuff when I was younger. I don't sit there and watch horror movies in my spare time, but I do like that,
And that definitely
suspense.
added to the experience for me, because it's like, yes, I'm learning all of these new things about Dunedin and just genuinely having a great time. But then it's like, actually, there's the part of you that's like, okay, I'm on a ghost tour. I want something a little bit creepy or spooky, or even if it's just me, psyching myself up in my head, you want a little bit of that. And for me, the fact that it kind of was like the finale of the tour, I was like, this was excellent.
Fantastic. For me, it was always about being authentic. And so the only way to make it authentic is for it to tap into your own senses. So you're making it an authentic experience through your mind. I'm giving you the history of the location. Usually something horrible's happened there. The ghost story attached. It's up to you how you feel about that.
I think that's fantastic. So,
great.
Are you a believer?
I am.
Yeah?
100%.
Are you willing
You're
to
going to
share
ask me, yeah.
what made you a believer?
What made you a believer? My money disappears out of my bank account on a regular basis.
Do you know what? I'm 100% a believer now, because that's proof.
Yeah.
We don't need anything else.
No. I do, there have been a number of things, strange things happen, and fear is contagious. We ran out of the Northern Cemetery one night.
Oh, wow.
We did all see a figure coming up the pathway towards us. It's an unusual place to see people.
It wasn't a plant?
It was not a plant. No. It was not the wind. And somebody in our group genuinely believed that somebody from her family, an ancestor, was making their way up the pathway towards us.
Wow.
And then a figure appeared. Now, if you're going to see a ghost, make sure you've got a group with you.
Yes.
So everybody saw this figure, including myself. I think people initially thought it was something I'd set up. And I've always said, if you see me running at any particular moment during the tours, you're on your own.
Yeah.
I was out. So that's kind of the freakiest thing, one of the freakiest things that's happened that we couldn't explain on the tour itself. And there's been, times outside of the tours. I think smell is a big thing. After my grandmother passed away, I quite often smelt her perfume. A lot of people have shared similar experiences with me. So there's been a few personal things that you've gone, oh, that's interesting. I do come from a probing, skeptical, try to, there's got to be a logical explanation for that. But I do believe, and a lot of the people that have been on the tours, I've really enjoyed hearing their stories, because maybe they feel safe in that environment. People don't always share them in front of the groups. They might contact me later about them.
That's awesome. And I mean, again, people willing to share their experiences and their stories with you must just be the coolest thing.
I think so, especially when I may have prejudged somebody. I may have, that guy's been dragged along. His wife's really into this. He's just not willing to come. And maybe that old guy is the one that shares the story that you thought was a big skeptic and wasn't into it at all. So you just never know.
Yeah. So you've kind of preempted my next question. I was going to ask about the most interesting or the scariest experience you have had personally or whilst doing a tour. So I guess the Northern Cemetery one, is it?
Yeah. I mean, that just stands out when people ask me that question. I think I did have a spooky... I do a tour at Port Chalmers as well, and I had a young guest. He would have been about 10 years of age. His mother called not long before the tour started, and she did warn me that his son had a little ghostly friend, an imaginary friend, and that he may talk to her on the tour. They lived in Port Chalmers. So the tour started, and it didn't take long before this young lad was communicating with his imaginary friend all the way to the cemetery. And he stopped and he said, Alice is very happy that we're visiting her home. And we all stopped and thought, oh dear me.
Yeah.
Is Alice with us tonight?
Yeah.
Again, I think most people thought I'd planted this young lad, but, you know, it's always a bit spooky, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, there's that assumption that children can be more in tune with or see things that as adults get older, they may become more sceptical.
Totally.
So maybe are not willing to see the things that maybe some children can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There we go. More kids on ghost tours.
No. Oh dear. That's truly frightening. There's nothing more frightening than ghosts. Yeah.
A ghost or a kid?
Or a child, yeah.
What about a child ghost?
That is terrifying.
That's the ultimate.
They're the creepy ones, aren't
Yeah.
they? Little kid ghost stories, I find. Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been awesome to have a chat with you.
My pleasure.
And I will definitely be doing some more tours, so emotionally prepare yourself for that. I'll probably
will.
bring Jen with me,
Oh,
so
dear.
we'll have a great time.
Yes, very good.
Thank you very much. Any last words, Jen? Any last words?
Before I'm murdered.
Before you're murdered, are you...
It was Andrew.
The Rainbow Umbrella theme song is by Paul S. Allen and Beth. Check them out on Spotify. New episodes of The Rainbow Umbrella are available every fourth Thursday on Otago Access Radio 105.4 FM, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to get your podcasts. Do you have an idea for an episode or something you would like to kōrero about? Get in touch at rainbowumbrellapod@gmail.com.